everybody. In this video, we're going to talk about how you can introduce the addition and subtraction of fractions by introducing equal sharing word problems. So, as a reminder, when we first talked about equal sharing, I used this example where Maggie has 8 slices of pumpkin bread and she wants to share them equally between herself and 2 other friends. And the thing we were looking for is how much pumpkin bread does each person get? And we talked about how there's several different methods that students will use. So, with one method, students may divide up the whole pieces as equally as possible by giving 2 slices of bread to each person. Then they may give a half of a slice of bread to each person. And then with this last half right here, they split it up into 3 equal pieces and give each person what ultimately ends up being a sixth. Your students will probably describe it as being a third of a half, but that is a sixth. And so um, students who get the answer in this way will say that each person gets 2 plus a half plus 1/6 or a third of a half. And then people will give each person 2 whole slices of bread. Um, and then they will split up each piece into 3 equal pieces, and they'll say that each person gets 2 plus 2/3 of a slice of bread. And both of these answers are correct. They both use sound reasoning. They divide up the bread equally, and each person does get the same amount, and all of the bread is distributed. So there's no mistakes in that. So when you are doing this with your students, if they describe it as a third of a half, you can just let them do that. But later, it may be helpful to have the conversation about what fraction is a third of a half. And you can pull up one of their drawings or something and look at it and say, okay, well, here's our half. And then let's say this person that we were representing with green, that they get this amount right here. So they get this amount of bread. And how much of an entire slice of bread is that? And if you split up this other half so that all of the pieces are the same, this is a really easy way to show that a third of a half is the same thing as being a sixth. And once your students understand this concept so that they can actually describe that amount with a single fraction, then you can compare the two answers and you can say, okay, so one person says that everybody gets 2 plus a half plus a sixth. Another person says that you get 2 and 2/3. So they're both correct and they should both be the same amount because it was the same amount of bread that we started with and we're splitting both of them between 3 people. So it's the same problem, the same situation. So these two things must be equal to each other. And you can use this as an example to introduce the addition of fractions. Because you can say, okay, well, obviously 2 equals 2, like that's just true. And so this addition of 1/2 plus 1/6, or this sum, must be equal to 2/3. And you can use this as a baseline problem so that your students can know what the answer is before they learn how to add the fractions. And then you can use the area models and the number line models and all of the different things we talked about in the other videos to help them understand why or how you get that 2/3. But if you introduce it in the context of a word problem that they solved a while ago, it can make it more meaningful because they already know what the answer is and it's tying together previous stuff that you've talked about. So I hope this video was helpful. If you have any questions, let me know.